Hello, everybody, and welcome to Turn the Page, Season 6, Book 4 of Choose Cthulhu. Help me with this one here, Raps. What's that city called? What's that?
It's we're going to...
I can't wait.
The destination is...
Can't wait to get to All right, can't wait to get to the Nameless City. For those of you who, I guess, didn't see the title and like this joke is stupid, and for those of you who get it and also think it's stupid, for those of you who get it and also think it's stupid, which is 100% of everybody, the Nameless City is the name of this book. Season 6, book 4 of Choose Cthulhu, the Nameless City. Which, look at that little alligator man on the cover. I don't know that I've seen quite an alligator type creature in Lovecraftian sort of mythos, but I'm also not. I'll admit I'm a rookie to it. I can't deny.
I'm feeling much the same. This feels like something that I would see in a different kind of horror medium.
Yeah.
I think the word I'm looking for is it's a bit scrutable. It's a bit describable, but it does look like an alligator with an armadillo's back.
Yeah. Indescribable.
Like kind of like rolled up chitin kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. What I'm saying is indescribable is the combination of two animals, right? Squid and dragon. And that's enough to get us there. So this is a crocodilo armadillo. Crocodile armadillo. But crocodilo I actually stand by. That portmanteau works better.
I like it. I like it a lot. Also, before we get in like too far, we mentioned in the last episode that Choose Cthulhu was going to be starting on Kickstarter soon for books number 7, 8, 9, and 10. Because there are 6 books, and there was going to be a Kickstarter. Well, there is now currently a Kickstarter, which is going on. It has been funded already, but you can go over there and support. And, you can get your digital copies, physical copy. There's some cool, like, extra goodies like Cthulhu dice sets, which is really, really neat. But we'll leave the link to that in either the show notes. So, like, whatever streaming service you're listening to on, you can go check, or, like, the YouTube description or something. I will make sure that is linked in those to help support Choose Cthulhu, because it's nice that we are able to record and upload these, and 4 more books is going to be fantastic when that happens in maybe early 2025, possibly. It sounds like. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. That I don't know.
I think this is our like most contemporary experience of these as well. Like it's something actively releasing while we're reading.
That is a wild thing. So being able to like give back to it in any way would be cool. So if you're listening to this and you want to like say, hey, I want to help support the podcast, support other things, go right ahead. Like I said, link in the show notes or the description, etc., etc. I have personally already backed, so when they are out, we will cover them. And I'm very excited to do so because I've been really, really liking these books so far. So it's really, I'm jazzed that we're going to have 4 more, basically. It is basically where I'm at. Regardless, go check that out. Do you want to check out the back of the book?
Absolutely. Beware. Ancient ruins, long buried in the ever-shifting dunes of the Arabian Peninsula, await the bold explorer. What creatures still crawl along those subterranean corridors, long forgotten by mortals? Can you find the Nameless City? Should you?
Oh. So the name is just the Nameless City. It's like, it doesn't work, It can't work. That's the name.
It's like describing something as indescribable. It's like, yeah, but you just did. So.
Yeah, but you just did. So this is awkward, isn't it? Yeah. So in primary school, I was absolutely the pedant who would I didn't have glasses, but I would be pushing glasses up my nose spontaneously. Actually, I think you'll find that indescribable is itself an adjective. Yeah.
So I'm that's my culture.
Yeah, I'm with it. I am with it as well. It's easy to say, oh, that's annoying, but it's easier to say, actually, I think you'll find that, it's just much easier. It's whenever you find, I noticed something, I have to point it out. I have to point it out because I noticed it.
Exactly. Otherwise, people will think I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
I saw a comedian last night, and one of the most searingly relatable things. They told a joke about liking to tell or liking to say words wrong, like pronounce words incorrectly for their own amusement, and then also. But if anyone else mispronounces anything around me, I'm on them immediately, and I feel so seen.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm a bit of a scootin' fruity man. I think that that feeling of getting joy from others' misfortune, scootin' fruity.
Scootin' fruity. Wait, hang on.
All right, page 1. Let's get into this before I get corrected.
Let's do it.
Your name is George Aberdeen. Actually, it's not, but okay. This is done.
Nice try.
This is okay.
Close.
This is done. No more in this entire book. We're done now. Okay. Your name is George Aberdeen. Miskatonic University has sent you on an archaeological expedition to the desert of Arabia. Okay. This is not a pedant thing. Is that? Am I missing something?
I imagine it is either an old name or a name for a specific desert in the area.
Sure. You have now been lost for several weeks. Your wineskin is almost dry, and the scorching sun, which never takes a day off, comes out behind the burnt horizon. You struggle to remember how it all started. How is it possible that only a month ago you were at peace in your house near the campus, skimming a book? And how is it what you found in that ancient copy, a manuscript that you had borrowed from the Miskatonic Library of Incunabula to write a report, has led you to one of the most inhospitable areas on the face of the earth in search of an illusion, a nameless city. Your chapped lips hurt when you laugh. You laugh because it's hard to accept that your life has taken such a drastic turn, that from the comfort of your Victorian house you've ended up balanced on top of this sinking animal, blinded by the mirages of the sun and about to collapse. You remember that book very well. It was Gaspard du Nord's translation of the volume entitled, you know what, I'm going to let you take it, Raps.
Livre divin.
And you remember what you came across in that book just by chance. Its back cover, which had been worn by age, revealed a hidden parchment. You removed it with extreme care, thinking you found a philological treasure. The parchment you found was yellowed, age-worn, and written in Arabic. Turn to page 3.
Ooh.
You know what?
Hang on. Our page 2 is a lovely, lovely scene.
It is a lovely, lovely scene of like what I can only say reminds me of a scene, like an establishing shot from the movie The Mummy.
100%. Yes. You can hear the narration in the background as well because we can see a faded text overlaid over the dunes. So this is a perfect time for there to be a, Amon Pep giving us a little bit of a talk about something that we'll only really fully come to understand by the end of the film.
Yeah. There's a man on a camel, and the camel's walking on some dunes, and there's some dunes in the background, but very importantly, there's very clearly like a 90s fade transition of like some hieroglyphs in a parchment book faded over the top of it. Like we're mid transition from the dune shot to the parchment shot that is very 90s. You know what? Why don't you read out that bottom section on the picture page? Why not?
Of course you remember that book, and you remember what you found hidden in the back cover, just by accident, which led you on this adventure.
Excited, you ask your family's old attorney, Albert A. Baker, for help, and then you realize he's not an attorney, he's a baker. Not only did he study law, but
let him bake.
Let him bake. Not only did he study law, but in his youth, he studied the languages of the Arabic countries, including some rare dialects. He was the one who helped you translate that manuscript, and he was the first to be frightened by the horrific potential of what it contained. When did you decide to willingly give in to madness and unreason? Was it at the very beginning when the words, Desert of Arabia?
Desert of Arabia.
Yeah, hit me. Yeah. Or
Apocryphal Nightmares of Damascus
came out of the translation, or was it near the end when the shaking hand that penned the shaky writing put a name for the first and last time to the nameless city? The nameless city, such an enticing spell, enveloped you upon reading those words. A curse of Arabian places no civilized man had ever set foot in. That ancient parchment became an obsession. In the following days, you sought advice from some of your colleagues, such as Henry Armitage, whose doctorate in letters and philosophy. I know that it's not stupid.
Look,
surely.
It's A, B. Look, I don't know much. I don't know. I specialize in A and B, frankly, actually. It's just, those two are my philosophy.
Yeah. It's just like, I specialize in letters. But the thing, even if it's like shipping letters, I don't know. Even that's not much better. So it goes in an envelope. And then...
Now, we're going to be spending the rest of the term on philosophy.
Now you know the shape of the A. Now let us figure out why. It's a little bit of a V on top of a stick. All right. And that is such... that is... It's rare that you're proud of one, you know? His doctorate in letters and philosophy qualified him as one of the best trained minds in the university. You were excited to show him your finding, and he, just as excited, helped you figure out the most obscure excerpts and their connection to Damascus, the eclectic Greek philosopher. Intrigued, turn to page 40. What does Damascus have to do with the lost ruins of Arabia? Could those pagan schools have gathered information that the Roman world, almost entirely Christian by then, condemned to death? You found that there were excerpts from his main work. Hit me.
Difficulties and solutions of first principles.
In Byzantine, Patriarch of Constantinople's Matthias Bibliotheca, that thread led you to those fragments, always seeking a match with those words in Arabic, nameless and city. I'm so sorry. If they don't give us words for you soon, I'm gonna riot. After much sweating,
I've already got a voice in mind for each of these characters as well, so like I'm waiting.
Come on, book. After much sweating and some short trips to dirty, seldom used libraries, you found it. You managed to collect enough data to persuade the advisory board at the university that in a remote region in Arabia, there were rumors that from the sands rose the ancient ruins of ancient buildings that were there before the arrival of Sabian migrants. The remnants of an archaeological site of immeasurable value, whose abode and stone buildings could be old enough to escape the memory of Thebes and Meroe. Turn to 41. You were exceedingly happy to be granted funding. Said and done, you came via New York, London, Cairo, and Riyadh. And now, weeks later, here you are, about to die of hunger or thirst, willing to slit your camel's throat and eat him if that gets you a couple extra hours. Oh, a short interval of survival with which to advance for another half of a mile. You are lost in the middle of somewhere the natives call the sun's anvil. Half a heartbeat away from starvation, your weak thoughts bring you back to the starting point of this adventure. Your conversations, let's go, with Baker and Armitage, and the corroded parchment. What a death trap you've walked into. Suddenly, you discern some silhouettes on the horizon. Above the dunes, it could be a mirage, another one, but it could also be men on camels, peaceful merchants, or cruel desert bandits. Who knows? You consider whether approaching them would mean your salvation or your death sentence. If you spur your camel towards those dark figures, turn to page 85. If you think it's best to stay away, go to page 8. I mean, like, I want to go to 85 because there's people there, and people talk, theoretically at least. You approach the men, if that's what they are, and now you need to figure out if they are friendly, or if they just belong to those dangerous tribes of desert bandits you've been warned of. They look sullen and threatening, and then when they see you coming, they ready their guns just in case you're a threat. But you, who knows the customs of the Bedouin people, call upon Diafa, the principle of hospitality among travelers. They eye you suspiciously, but agree to your accompanying them to their camp, which is no further than a 6-hour-long journey. You sincerely thank them, and when they asked why you've come to such a place, you tell them about your quest to find the Nameless City. Hearing this, you notice them tense ever so slightly. They exchange knowing looks, but remain quiet. You ask them what is wrong, whether you've unknowingly made a faux pas, but they offer you just a sip of water. They watch you with analyzing eyes as if one of you were keeping a terrible secret. Their campsite, a group of tents sheltered behind a dune, appears just a moment later. You see more men and women as well as camels, a settlement of travelers that has decided to camp here today. Turn to page 87. At the reading 86 withers. Oh my god, a man with glowing eyes. They did not mention that part. Oh, because maybe it's only related to something. I think feel like it's maybe related to the next page is why.
Yes.
Spoilers. A man with glowing eyes. No, a man who introduces himself as Laxi al-Faid, the patriarch of the clan, invites you to his tent and shares his food. This is a great honor, and you are very grateful. When you tell him what you came to the desert to find, he's dumbfounded.
The Nameless City is a ghost from the past.
He tells you.
One you should not awake. There are dark and obscure rumors about that place. Does it really exist? Have you seen it?
You ask, hopefully. Even if they don't want to take you there, they could give you some directions.
I advise you to forget it, honored sir.
He says in a pleading voice.
Dark legends mention a place on Earth made not for men, which stood there long before we came. Before who came? Humans.
The flames crackle in the fire. An odd wind shakes it.
There are writings that speak of it. I've read an old Arab poet, Abdul al-Hazred.
When he hears that name, Al-Faid tenses as if bitten by a snake. Turn to page 88.
Don't you dare speak that accursed name in my home!
He shouts as he gestures to protect himself from the evil eye.
It's not a good memory, nor someone worth summoning. I'm sorry.
You apologize, blushing. Why the hostility?
I didn't know he was considered persona non grata here. Mad poet, voice of the dead. The abyss of madness and dementia. That sick madman dared to travel to prohibited places and compose his poems and wrote his accursed books, honoring the horrors he encountered there. He was an ungodly man.
He shudders.
Did he know the location of your lost city? Yes, and it was there, in those old and dusty streets, where he composed his most famous verse. Which one?
In a low voice and with an odd glimmer burning in his eyes, glowing in his eyes, he recites it.
That it is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons even death may die.
He shows you an odd old medallion. The void of time that separates you from it shakes you to the core. Impressed, go to page 34. I mean, like...
Nice! Would you take 200 for it?
I'm shaken to my core, but I am impressed.
Yeah, nothing's really shaken me to my core like this before.
Very shiny, I like it. According to your host, that medallion was found by his children near a depression in the soil a couple miles northeast from here, in the Sun's Anvil, a despicable place for life and human sanity. You scrutinize the medallion that Al-Faid gifts you as a token of protection, and soon you feel that an unfathomable abyss of time stands between you and its origin. You stare with horror at what it represents, a sort of hunched cross between human, reptile, and satyr clad in a ritual robe. It holds some sort of impossible-to-describe artifact in its hand. It looks sort of like a...
It looks sort of like a hairdryer. And it dries his hair.
With a little imagination, it could be a futuristic gun taken from the fantasy of H.G. Wells or Jules Verne. You thank him and tell him...
That doesn't describe it, though.
Yeah, that's nothing like
it. It couldn't.
With a little... You couldn't describe it, but if you had a little bit of imagination, you'd say it does just look like a gun. You thank him and tell him you'll depart the next day for the Sun's Anvil. Al-Faid wishes you luck and tells you his children will escort you as far as they can, but they won't get near the valley of the Icewind Dale. Hold on.
Yeah,
this isn't the D&D book. Hold on, that Endless Quest was last season. What's going on?
I'm gonna guess that there is a real place that inspired the name in that.
I think that is indeed probably going to be the case. When you ask him what that is, he answers with a shiver.
That's the place where it's said that once stood the Nameless City.
His gaze is fixed on you, as if judging whether you are fit to undertake such an adventure. And he speaks anew. He makes an odd rising inflection at the end, as if somehow he's questioning you.
Your dreams are pushing you too far, university man.
Begin your journey to that faraway place on page 35. You leave the next afternoon after the sun's strongest hours have passed. At midday, the temperature was around 130 degrees, but now it's down to a pleasant 105 degrees. A couple of days, probably Fahrenheit, I would assume, otherwise...
Otherwise you are baking.
A couple of days after setting out with the merchant's children, a sandstorm catches you by surprise. There's something supernatural in the way that it appeared out of nowhere. You hear odd voices swept by the wind, and beyond those, a melodic sound. Something artificial, like a sort of alien music. Al-Faid's children gesture protection with their fingers and entrust themselves to Allah. You doubt that any gods will have anything to do with this. Hours later, the winds have separated you from your guides. You cry their names fruitlessly in the middle of the tempest. You can't even hear your own voice. You can't hear or see a thing, only the maelstrom of the sand. Will you meet your end here, in the middle of the most absolute nothingness? In the air, quite distant, you can hear the abhorrent music again, almost as if it were preternatural siren song. Lost and scared, turn to page 68. Don't tell me but I am.
Yeah.
You died. Go back to the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well.
I should have expected that. We're lost and scared in the
shucks.
middle of the desert in a maelstrom of storm.
Yeah, you have no idea how many days the storm lasts, but you fancy it's an eternity. Terrifying eternity. Lost in the fog between the walls of sand and dust that one cannot cross, and hurricanes whose friction burns your skin and guts and scratches the whites of your eyes like sandpaper until one day it all vanishes. The wind dies down, the calm comes over, and the sun, at last, makes its way towards you, letting you enjoy the landscape that is unfolded around you. The sight is breathtaking. You don't know what remote confine of the desert you made your way to, but what's here almost stops your heart in awe. You swallow. What could it be? Hurry! Go to page 100 and find out!
Made it.
The sun is a bucket of blood and the horizon is a taut wire. Oh man, that's metal. Just as you exhausted your strength and you feel like you're about to pass out, the storm starts to die down and the gray horizon turns to a roseate light edged with gold. Then you see it, and at first you think it's a mirage caused by your fevered state. Shapes emerging from the sand, covering many square miles of the desert, far and wide, edges of rocks, dense dark masses that could only be buildings, apertures of very different shapes like wells in the ground leading to who knows what untrodden depths. Probably the Underdark. I mean, you know, we already had Icewind Dale. I mean, it's a city.
It's around here.
It's around. Well, yeah. It's a city, or what's left of it after being buried for thousands of centuries, at the mercy of sandstorms. Could it be the lost city of a legend, the one without a name? Have you finally found it? It's possible, although at this moment you even question your own sanity. Suddenly, a loud metallic peal is heard in the valley, music, cosmic, outlandish, ominous sounds unlike anything any human mind has ever composed. Sounds a little bit like a draft of air that resembles...
Fill in your own least liked band here.
I don't want to ruin anyone. I don't want to yuck a yum, you know? A draft of air that resembles the moans of a living creature comes with one of those openings on the ground from some of remote depth. What could it be? What evil creature or musical instrument was cursed with a throat that could produce such a sound? Was it perhaps the musical stylings of... Oh, no, you thought. Trying to fight off... Okay, that one's fine.
I was trying to find the easiest.
That one works. Trying to fight off the fear. You set out for the valley where the city has emerged, hoping you'll never know the answer. Turn to 101. You've been walking for a little bit. It's the city. Congrats. You wander between the brooding ruins of houses and buildings, unable to find inscriptions or free. What's this one? Raps? Teacher?
Freezes.
It's just okay. That meant
I think so. I could be wrong.
I mean, that's how I would pronounce it if I looked at it, but Friezes. You know, I'm sure. That mention of men. You fail to see any allusions to the old civilizations we know of, like the Egyptian or Mesopotamic or Kid Rock. How could this be? What sort of civilization doesn't sculpt their fate or their myths so that they survive the trap of time? You can't see any logic in this morbid architecture, nor the smallest proof that this has been built even by human hands. Even some proportions in these buildings make you feel a little bit uneasy. This door frame is like 2 inches too tall, man. I don't like it. I feel sick.
Legitimately, I have been in houses where I'm like, your door frames are a bit low. I'm real uncomfortable here.
That I have had, but for some reason I feel like the proportions in this are like, okay, they're maybe a bit too big for big creatures or something. But for me, I have indeed hit my head. My stairs going upstairs in my new house is, I've hit my head on it like most times until I get used to it, and I'm like, oh,
should you just install a cushion there?
I legitimately, I've considered, like, I think maybe for now I should just like find a way to wrap something spongy there just for the time being until I get used to it, because like then I'll have to duck down even more not to hit the spongy thing. But if I fail, what's the worst that's gonna happen? I hit something spongy.
Exactly. And now you're training yourself to miss it by an even larger margin.
Yeah. And what's the worst case scenario if I don't do that? I die forever. Boom, boom, bang, boom, dead. There's 2 sounds: me hitting the stairs, me hitting the stairs. Okay.
Look, when I fight you at the top of the staircase, there's gonna be 10 sounds. I hit you, you hit the stairs, 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 you hit the floor.
And then I hit you. Wait.
Again.
And then you go, hey, what was that for? There's 12 sounds. 12 very important sounds. Oh. Where were we? Yeah. This architecture is weird. It makes me sick.
Mm-hmm. Even the proportions.
The proportions make me feel ill, dude. There are no bystanders but the wind. A wind that is as old as time. That blows between the rocks and the white moon. That rises like a naked bone. Okay. You start exploring the city, praying you won't find something your brain will not be able to take. Well, traveler, you found the Nameless City. Capital Nameless, capital city, Nameless City. Congratulations. Or should we say, condolences? Okay, goosebumps. Examine the map on pages 102 to 103.
Double page spread of the map, hell yeah.
There you'll find the buildings are numbered. These are the pages you can jump to as you explore the city little by little. Hello, Grail Quest. Been a while since we've had that. Don't lose sight of this map. You can always come back to it to explore another building, and good luck. The ancient enigmas of the Nameless City, capital Nameless, capital City, await you. Oh, dang. Let me just get this into Microsoft Paint.
Mm-hmm. While you do so, I will explain a couple of them. We've got what looks like a total of 6 listed locations here, which I will describe rather than the entire scene, as it would take me far too long. We have the first location, which appears to be just multiple houses that are quite buried in a dune. Not particularly descript. We've got another location near that area, a little bit further forward, which seems to be maybe an aquifer or aqueduct that has broken down over time. Then we've got 64, which is a pentagram in the... Well, is it a pentagram? Yeah, that's a pentagram. Star stated out from a hexagon? What's the word for it? It's not hexagon, it's the one before that. Pentagon. A pentagram from a pentagon. It looks like a flower blossoming on the surface of the dunes. 10 looks like a claw.
Oh, yeah.
Like a claw of an ancient monster under the world. And then we have what is clearly a exceptionally large mausoleum on 22, and then a series of statues on 61.
Absolutely. I loved listening to geography class while I was getting my little Microsoft Paint thing set up here. What was this thing? Oh yeah, there's a star with a pentagon in it and a circle in the pentagon. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That
beautiful.
That seems very, very suspect.
I mean, so does the giant alligator building.
Yeah.
And the claw. You know what? I'm starting to get why they were unsettled just looking at these buildings, because they're very clearly. I mean, yeah, it's the proportions and not the fact that it's a literal alligator building.
Nah, that's normal proportions though. Should we go to a weird building or a non-weird building first? Do we go to like something tame or straight into the mouth of the alligator?
We have to do a serious one, and then we get to do a silly one.
Gotcha. So a serious one? What?
91
is the mouth of
looks...
an alligator serious or silly?
91 looks serious because it's just some freaking houses. It's just some... There's nothing much more like serious than just like a bunch of houses.
We're not going to want to turn up to these after going on all of the other adventures.
I know.
And then it's like, and these are some rundown houses.
Yeah. It's like, I want to go to the Florida tourist trap, like, after we've already gone to, like, some boring houses and we've, like, learned about the history. Now we get to go see the world's largest papier-mâché alligator.
It's like if I walk out of Disneyland and then you're like, now, I know you had fun in there, but would you like to see a shack that I have for rent?
Yeah, like it's the strip outside of Disneyland Disney World is wild. Okay, 91. You reach a plain where the sand deposited by the wind seems to conceal an old painting. Below the large deposit of yellow dust, straight dark lines show here and there. You walk in ever broader circles like a cartographer setting the limits of geographic landmarks. An hour later, you're reasonably confident that the shape drawn by those concealed lines is that of a 9-point star? Yeah. Did we go to the right spot? Yeah. I mean, I guess that's not a 9-point star.
I think we did, yeah, because the other one's the only thing I know about is it has 5 points.
It's a 5-ogram. That's what I always do, and I just don't want to think about it. It's a 9-agon or a 10-agon.
And that gets you so close as well, because it's just not a gun anyway.
Is so close. Wait, hold on. And in at least 2 of the points, there's an ingress. Cracks that might well have served as sewers in a distant past, where there was water to drain. What could be the meaning of these lines? Is it a religious thing, or purely ornamental meaning? Or maybe something more practical? I've recently heard about a great finding in South America, where there are large lines that popular imagination has turned into landing strips for the carriages of gods. But you don't know if this is the same thing. This is an airport.
I've seen lines before.
I've seen lines.
Ah, I see. This must track the rate of inflation over the course of the last 24 years. I saw a line that did that once.
Guy who sees us say his second line. This is getting real Boss Baby vibes from this line.
Look at a second line, my man.
Oh my God, imagine. Oh, determined to investigate. You slip through one of those sewers. It's a long and narrow pipe whose walls, despite the desert's heat, still retain some lucky dormant humidity, a fossilized but watery dampness. Turn to page 92. You descend further into the darkness, to the most remote depth, where the unexpected wind that brings the metallic, inhuman music that has had your hairs on end seems to emanate. Suddenly, the tunnel opens into a domed gallery that ends in an ugly flight of stairs. They are small and steep, and will give you nightmares for the rest of your life. Or you'll come to learn what they are for, and who treaded on them long ago. The ceiling is also quite low, uncomfortable even for an average man like yourself. Hey, wait, hold on. Representation. In the dark, as the tunnel becomes narrower and more cramped, gems of wisdom from your demonic books come to mind. Like the words the demented Al-Hazred once wrote.
That is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons even death may die.
But not only this, but also fragments of Damascus's heretical works, and infamous sentences from the delirious Image du Monde by Gauthier de Metz. Are you hallucinating? Has the darkness of the underworld overpowered you? All of a sudden, the tunnel opens into a bigger chamber full of odd objects. Crawl through the tunnel to page 36.
I love how, like, it fills you with unease. It makes you queasy in your soul. These stairs are ugly.
Ugly.
Also, nightmares for the rest of your life about these stairs, by the way. But they're ugly.
They're so ugly. Oh, the previous owners of this house had a field day, man. They just I
I'm
mean,
gonna say
props
they're
to them.
a fluoro green and then a fluoro pink, and then it's just going back and forth between those two. Like, it's not even like terrifying. It's just real tacky.
It's like, it's green and pink checkered, and then it's like they've got like a flannel in there for fun, and then they go back to checkered, but only once, and then the rest of them are different from each other.
Is this one step quilted? What?
I will never forget these. In this long and narrow chamber that resembles an extension of the corridor, you see niches. Is this the situation in which you actually use niches?
I've always erred on the side of niche.
Me too.
Because I don't want anyone to ever correct me, and I don't know how it's.
I know.
I don't know when niche is appropriate.
I always say niche as well, but I'm like, I feel like this. This is one of those ones where it's like, what's the name of the words in which they kind of sound like the thing that they are? Do you know?
Oh,
there's a word for it.
They sound like the thing that
not
they
an
are.
onomatopoeia, but like, I don't know,
like an auditory skeuomorphism.
Let's go with that one. The comments will know. There's a word for words that sound like the thing. Like, oh yeah, that's very apt that would be called that.
Mm-hmm.
Niche sounds like something that would be like a little marking carved in a wall. It sounds right in this situation only. So, but hey, carved in the walls, they are lined with many wooden cases and glass fronts. You walk up to them and examine them closely. They're oblong and horizontal, unsettlingly like coffins. An underground phosphorescence of mineral origin casts light upon them, the same light that lets you see where you are going. Fantastic drawings compose a continuous mural, embellishments that one cannot simply describe, almost like clearly they were not carved by human hands. The coffins contain the mummified remains of abhorrent creatures whose ugliness stretches the limits of what any civilized mind could handle. Drag her queen.
To filth.
They are reptiles mixed with dogs or hyenas and satyrs, with twisted horns and foreheads broader than Jupiter's, their lack of a nose, their alligator-like jaws, and hooked fingers. All those characteristics place them in a paleontological category all of their own. They ugly. But worst of all is that they wear rich clothing and ornamented jewelry, and that denotes advanced intelligence, which scares you the most. Turn to page 38.
Ooh, we do have an image in the midsection as well.
Yeah, it's impossible to describe. Looks
Couldn't
like
possibly.
a dragon pig.
It's a little like a horse or a dog that hasn't eaten in a long time.
Yeah,
I couldn't say.
I couldn't possibly. You stagger back, filled with terror, away from the cases with the corpses, but you can't get too far away from them because they are everywhere, stored on the walls, floors, ceilings, for the rest of eternity. Thousands upon thousands of mummified representatives of some ancient race. The friezes on the wall show grotesque imagery. Is that the word of the day? Is that the gelid of the day?
It's the gelid of the day, and I did confirm it is friezes.
Did you? What's the definition of it?
Oh, that would have been a great thing for me to look at the time. I believe it is a art thing. It
doesn't have to be indescribable. You can describe this one.
The part of an entablature between the architrave and the cornice. I love when a definition gives me 3 more words to look up.
Yes.
Entablature between the architrave and the cornice. Okay, so it's part of a tableau. It is part of a masonry structure. Great.
That's about as much as I kind of gathered, but I was hoping it was going to be something like way different. I was hoping it was something really specific, and like we were
Super Saiyan from the first couple seasons of Dragon Ball Z.
The friezes on the wall show grotesque imagery, commentaries on the rights of a civilization that didn't believe in death.
What old country does not have myths about the afterlife?
But which did perform sacrifices for their perverted gods. In one of the drawings, you see a slender reptile clad in a robe, a sort of high priest about to sacrifice a poor old man on an altar. The priest seems to be standing on top of a great pyramid or ziggurat, At whose feet a great city full of slaves
Humans, undoubtedly. The underlings of this abhorrent reptilian race.
is spread out. Suddenly a noise startles you terribly. Something heavy is moved in, making a din at the end of the corridor, casting a shiny golden light. It's as if one of the walls has detected your presence and opened up like a great panel so you could see what lies beyond. Noises come from the back of the corridor as if something were coming your way, something quite fast. Turn to page 39. You're trapped between two unknown phenomena down one end of the corridor. There's an intense and mysterious light. It has an oddly artificial quality to it, so it can't be a window to the outside. On the other end, there are those things coming towards you from the back corridor, cutting off your only exit. If you decide to wait until whatever comes from the corridor, why'd I do it again? That's such a weird corridor. Catches up with you. It's a corn corridor. Catches up with you. Turn to page 56. If, on the other hand, you resolve to go towards the lights, run to page 69 and fast. At first I was like, run towards the light, you don't do that, but then you said 69.
And it is away from the figures.
That is also true.
Which I really don't believe it's going to be the Bedouin Travelers again. It's absolutely going to be our first encounter with the alligator, satyr, frog, dog, cat, wolf hybrid.
That we can't describe.
Of course.
I'm down to...
The less describable something is, the more animals you need to describe
it. That is true. Indescribable just means you just need to take longer. Like, that's all. It's just because you're not...
indescribable within a single sentence.
Indescribable is more of a skill issue.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have enough of imagination to describe this to you.
Have you seen Boss Baby? It's a little like... You approach the golden halo that seems to bathe the area as if you'd walked into the sun's crown. It's hot, but it's also inexplicably dry and cold. And then you let out a howl of deep and utter surprise. You peered into an infinite void of unlimited radiance, like the whole world might look when it's gazing down from the peak of Mount Everest. A sea of lustrous mist. It's as if the corridor nailed it, in a gigantic underground cave that has its limits exceeded your range of vision, and are blurred in the frontiers of that ominous radiance. There's no doubt there's something down there, something that makes incomprehensible noises, sort of like the mysterious music you've been hearing all along. Mental associations are curious, and you shrink with fear at the idea that, except for the poor human figure destined for sacrifice that you saw on the friezes, word of the day, you are the only human form amidst the relics and symbols of primordial life. Astounded, turn to page 70. There are winding stairs that go down into the depths of the world and which may lead to the base of this titanic cavern. The abyss poses a dilemma for even a feisty explorer. Guilty.
Wow. Don't be so down on yourself. This would be hard even if I was good at this.
I feel that daily, man. Oh God, I would love to make dinner, but I'm not even feisty.
Am I feisty enough to get up and make dinner right now?
Am I feisty enough to get dressed today? I just don't know, man. Go down and stare at those marvels with your own eyes, even if it damages your sanity, or backtrack as fast as possible before some nameless beings notice you. Not even the physical horror of your situation when contemplating such a vast panorama, the world filled with spectral mist, could compare to the feeling of surveying the archaic scenery. So huge that it changes your perspective. Here, time itself has become the guardian of the nameless and profane secrets. Then a hurricane-force gale pushes you off your feet and hurls you downstairs, causing a cacophony so loud that it makes your skull vibrate. You scream in pain, hugging the sides of your head so it doesn't burst, and you fall. Roll to page 78.
There's going to be 12 sounds. First one's whoosh. Then you hit the stairs.
Then you say ow. Then you hit the stairs. And then you say ow. You roll uncontrollably down the stairs, hurting yourself all the way to the landing of the long staircase. A place where... Why would you do that? Just go down smooth.
Just punching yourself while you're falling.
Just stupid. Why'd you fall?
You give yourself like an arm twisty.
No. Smooth
Purple
moves.
nurple yourself while going down.
Oh my god. Okay. Oh. Hurting yourself all the way down to the landing of the long staircase, a place where 5 or 6 other branches open up, all of them winding, twisted, and difficult to maneuver. Holding your head where the fall cut your scalp.
Thankfully, it isn't too deep.
You look around. You shudder because from this distance you can make out the shapes inside the radiance. Sharp tips of stone that come out of a sort of haze, vertical slabs full of small windows that resemble inhabited obelisks. Shadows of large constructions in the shape of bridges, the small flames of combusting gases that twisted chimneys exhale. It's a city, but not a human city. I did think we knew that by now.
Huh. Human. Interesting. What part of seeing the only human represented in the entire area on a frieze being sacrificed does not feel particularly human to us?
Yeah. Not human, for certain. And there seem to be inhabitants. The closest building to you is like a pagoda, except the eaves of roofs are upside down, and the door is open, as if the owners don't mind anyone coming in. Actually, it seems there's no windows or doors anywhere, only holes in the walls. If you head down towards that first building to explore it, turn to page 93. If you keep walking down the stairs to the deep city, 42.
I mean, my initial instinct is always away from people, but away from people is also just deeper into the Nameless city, so I don't think either of these is particularly safe.
Not really. I'm going to let you take it. I'm going to let you take it.
You know what? The tiebreaker is that one of them's on 42.
Oh, the meaning of life is there.
Exactly. There may well be, as we go deeper into the city.
You're spellbound by the unknown, the mysteries never before revealed to the human eye. Not even in prehistoric times. And like the scientist you are, you can't avoid the calling, the enchantments. You start descending step by step until the mist seems to burn with that strange incandescence that swallows you. You wander for an indefinite amount of time between large structures like the skyscrapers of New York, but worse shapes are... Never mind. But whose shapes? I was going to say like the skyscrapers of New York, but ugly. Like the skyscrapers of New York, but whose shapes are the most grotesque that you can imagine. There are many holes in these structures, but not a door, nor a window to cover them. You see deformed sculptures representing the old gods.
Are they?
And machines that make impossible noises and tremble with pulsating vibrations, almost alive rather than electrical. They appear almost organic. The neighbor's eyes are fixed on your body, but no one stops you. They let you walk with curiosity and never get in your way. You see them from afar, shapes through windows, furtive shadows slithering quite rapidly along the streets, but not one of them comes out in the open air.
If you could even say that in such a big cabin.
Suddenly, the street you're walking along ends in an enormous square, some 1,600 feet wide. A building unlike any other towers over it. A ziggurat. Turn to page 43. You walk up the steps to the ziggurat, guessing.
No, knowing.
That this is the same building that those beings painted on the walls. And that's how you know that up there is an altar for human sacrifices. And that inside the temple there will probably be a high priest waiting, after years of silence, anxious to spill blood once again for his old gods, the blood of an American scientist from the Miskatonic. When you get atop of the altar, you also see an object similar to a giant tuning fork, which plays the infamous music that is heard all over the valley. That sound is condensed in a visible haze of light, a sort of lightning that goes through the ceiling of the cavern, always upwards, always towards space. A calling, perhaps, a distress message destined to find beings up there in the firmament that once lost the coordinates of the Earth's position. What will they do if they find it again? Or if they intercept the lightning full of information, of pleas to the unnameable powers of the cosmic abyss? The priest exits the temple, and he's holding something in his hands. A ritual knife. He doesn't need to force you to lie on the sacrificial stone. Driven by insanity, you do it yourself. The end. Good end. We're helpful.
Yeah, I guess.
We're helpful.
We have purpose. We know what we're doing with our lives. That's good.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So that's a no. So that's an L.
Yeah. That feels like that's about as L as we can possibly get. I think the other path is 93. And that would be to go into the pagoda with the upside down roof.
Sure. Why not? Why didn't the architects need doors? Perhaps if you live in an underground city, you're trustworthy? No one sneaks around down here uninvited. Every building belongs to every inhabitant. Maybe the very concept of property has not even been invented yet. The main door leads to a circular chamber with abhorrent decoration full of objects whose purpose your mind cannot grasp. It looks like a hairdryer. It could be a sort of storeroom, or even a museum, or simply the home of one of the creatures, filled with the objects they collect throughout their lives. A noise comes from the upstairs floor, a sort of cough, guttural grunt. You can't tell. There's a staircase with the same small, low steps you've grown used to that ascends in a spiral. Trying to make as little noise as possible, you climb the steps one at a time until your head pokes out onto the landing and you see what's up there. And you hold your breath. The second floor looks like a study room. Wait, what? The walls are covered in cupboards, and there's a large, low desk in the center. An inkstand? The cupboards are full of seemingly quite thin and half-transparent obsidian sheets. Each has an irregular outline that's different from the rest. They're full of cuneiform doodles, whose internal symmetry resembles some sort of writing. Come on. You're the letter main.
Yeah.
Come on.
This is your thing.
But there's also drawings that look more like technical diagrams than artistic expressions surrounded by dots and grooves. Oh, you lost me. That's not a letter. Those are shapes.
No, completely different department. I can call Mr. Hornet down here if you'd like.
He specializes in squares. These are curved edges. Sorry, he can't help you. Sorry.
Yeah, this is going to be a completely different guy.
Yeah, we're going to have to actually hook you up with a specialist. They're booked up. You're going to maybe need to set up an appointment. It's February next year. Fine. To get your square checked out. Yeah. All right. It's one of those creatures, a cross between a hyena. What catches your attention the most is the creature that sits before the inkstand. It's one of those creatures, a cross between a hyena, a reptile, and a Greek mythological creature. It appears very old and decrepit, much more hunched over than the ones you've encountered so far, as if its body were hanging from its arched spine. It's carving a sheet of obsidian with what appears to be an instrument that works with heat, perhaps gun-like. What sort of incredible knowledge is this creature recording for posterity? Slowly, the chronicler spins in his chair and looks at you. Turn to 76. The two of you are paralyzed, eyes fixed on each other. Neither can blink. A moment later, he extends a kind hand and invites you to sit on the stool by his side. Dazed and unsure how to react, you obey. You almost have a heart attack when the being slowly moves his mouth as though trying to accommodate his tongue to sound it wasn't designed. Accommodate his tongue to sounds that it was not designed to produce. And he speaks in a sort of proto-historic Sabian language.
Man from up.
You don't understand him at first. It's pretty. But then he points a finger with a broken nail to a nearby helmet. You put it on, and the language becomes comprehensible in your head.
You shouldn't be here. This is no place for your people.
He rasps.
The fungi of Yugoth should not have let your race prosper. They are our friend. I've come here by accident.
You mumble in a forgotten tongue.
What are you? Why are you here? No, the question is, why are you here?
The old man mutters.
You are impossible. We are as we were millions of years ago.
You are indescribable, like I don't know, grown-up boss
Bug of some sort.
He's right. You'd never thought about it that way. It's you, the human race, who climbed down from the trees and lost your body hair.
I'm the chronicler. I observe, date, and write. I'll write your visit too, so that the memory of this day is not lost in eternity.
Turn to page 79. I like this.
How is it that you're still alive? hidden here at the depths of the world?
You ask the chronicler.
At first there was heat and gas, primordial fire, whole continents of melting lava. Then it rained for millions of years, and your oceans came to be. The air on the surface turned unbreathable, and we had to lock ourselves down here. We, who were once strong and mighty, who once ruled the world, hidden like the horned viper, humiliated, unable to live under the cruel sunlight.
The old man appears quite sad and melancholic, as if remembering the days he himself lived as a child. Oh, but that's impossible. Is he suggesting his race is immortal? Is that why there are no references to the afterlife in their friezes? Frieze mentioned.
But we've worked. Oh, yes, we have, patiently, with the aid of our brothers, the Yugoth. They possess the knowledge. They fly over new pastures where the damnable oxygen is not an issue. The new city is almost completely finished. Down here, there are but a few of us. What new city? Where have you built it?
Right here, silly. This creature takes some time to react, but he ends up looking up at the ceiling, and you realize that his stare alludes to a place in that direction. Very, very far up. Maybe beyond his cavern. Maybe above the world at the surface. Maybe beyond the clouds. Turn to page 80. The chronicler is absorbed by his engravings and doesn't say a word. You set the translating helmet in its place and leave the room, crestfallen. What he's told you has left you deeply disturbed. Before leaving, you take a key that is hanging from a thin chain. The number 7 is engraved on one of its side. You keep it in your bag and retrace your steps to the surface, lost in monstrous thoughts. We have an inventory, Raps.
We do indeed. I wonder if it might even be relevant, the amulet given to us by the Bedouin.
Oh, maybe. It's worth keeping in mind, at the very least. All right. Back to the map. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 places.
And I will say, though, like, so if the chronicler is referring to, like, directly above himself, right? And we went down into this area and even further down into the depths of the city. I wonder if maybe we want to try and stay in this left side of the map to see if any of the structures here are the one directly above the chronicler.
Yeah, it could be. I feel like
the one that seems the most likely to me would be 64, but just because it seems more ritualistic than the others.
Yeah,
being a pentagram and all.
I call me basic, but wait, no, 58 is. Oh, is 58 the alligator or is it that big door? What do you think?
I don't know. I thought it was the aquifer next to it, and then there are 2 other structures that are much more important. I would be happy with 58 as well. I suspect it's the door.
Yeah, because we do have a key, and it's a big door. And maybe I'm simple-brained, but keys go indoors.
Often.
Usually not like that. It seems like quite a big door, but maybe. And I don't think it didn't describe the key as being so large we can't even lift it. So I don't know if it's going to be that simple, but I'm down it. I'm curious.
I love it. Let's do it. 58.
When you walk up to the structure that emerges from the dunes, you realize that it's not only very tall and rectangular, but also quite narrow, thin, just like a wall, or rather, a door. The latter becomes more likely as you walk around it and examine it carefully, as it looks like a bronze plate covered by layers and layers of caked sand. This antiquated relic is so immense that it defies any logical explanation for its size. It's a door that leads nowhere. It seems to be watching you, looking at you sideways from the primordial rocks and from the temples that surround the door like sullen watchmen. There are carvings on the enormous bronze plate. As you scrutinize them, you draw them in your diary, wondering what sort of archaic technology could not only carve but raise this metallic plate that must weigh a ton. Yes, the Egyptians did build the pyramids, but whoever built this bronze door possessed a knowledge that may also now be lost. The question that worries you the most: why would one place a door in the middle of nowhere? Where did the builders think it would go? Or is it just a symbolic origin, perhaps even religious or ceremonial, like the Celtic dolmens? Turn to page 60. A close examination of the engravings casts some of the light on the mechanism which, in theory, could open a large door. You find 3 holes concealed with engravings which could be locks, each with a different shape. If you held all 3 keys, you could even activate some sort of invisible mechanism that might well be concealed inside the structure of the door. The question is, even if you manage to find 3 keys and open it, where would that get you, and why does the door seem to lead to nowhere? Hidden in the Nameless City, there are but 3 keys. There's a different number etched on each of them. When you find all 3, add the 3 numbers together and go to the resulting page to open the bronze door. Until then, go back to the map.
Okay, so good thinking. You're 100% right.
Door is key, key is door. Door is key.
But
first thought, best
door
thought.
is keys.
I did not consider that.
Door might be keys. So, where do we think the other 2 key locations?
Oh, let's just
be?
brute force it. What? Let's just see what all of the different. Let's just make. What are all of the possible numbers in the entire universe that could be added to 7?
Okay. So, assuming a non-zero number and assuming it's positive. So,
why are we assuming those?
Could both. Okay, never mind. That's gonna make things a little harder. Previously, I would have said it's any number above 9, inclusive of 9. Now it could be
all of them.
Any of them. Yeah. So let's just check every page.
Yeah.
But let's start with some of the ones that are locations for the desert.
That's 2 birds, 1 scone. That makes sense.
I think maybe 10. Go to the claw, just because I think it's interesting. I want to know.
Let's go to the big funny hand. 4 pillars that looked like cracked obelisks emerged from the ground. They seemed to sprout around a common nucleus, like fingers of a buried hand. You step closer and see there are scratches on the stone near the top of the pillars. You hug the first obelisk and start climbing. You find it hard at first, and you fall a couple of times.
Thankfully, the sand is soft.
But you are determined to manage to make the top, and you do. Undoubtedly, these are sort of a hieroglyph. These are a sort of hieroglyph, but they look nothing like the...
I know those.
I know those.
That's a letter.
That's a letter. That's an old letter. Hieroglyphs are just old letters. But they look nothing like the Egyptians or the Chaldeans, nor do they resemble those of any ancient civilization. The antiquity of these scratches reminds you of Sarnath the Doomed, and of the other cities of the forgotten land of Mnar. They don't represent any living creatures, not even humanoids, but they seem like a complex clutter of ideograms with some numeric correlation. You spend more than an hour climbing up stone fingers like a monkey, reading inscriptions until you eventually convince yourself that there's really a mathematical connection hidden here somewhere. The problem is it's so cryptic that you don't know what it is. You're a letters guy, not a numbers guy. But a privileged university mind like yours shouldn't have a hard time figuring it out. Throw your hands up in despair and turn to page 11.
You shouldn't have a hard time figuring it out. Throw your hands up in despair on page 11.
Suddenly, a ray of sun rests on top of the obelisk and is refracted in many light beams. It's a beautiful scene because the light seems to needle its way through like a mesh of fine threads of light that... Beautiful scene because the light seems to needle its way through like a mesh of fine threads of light that ties the stone pillars together. There's an equivalence in the connected symbols. There's an icon at the top of each pillar. In front of each of these, another 3 are mirrored. 2 are upside down, and another 2 look like a mathematical extrapolation of the first. How many symbols are there in total? If you know the answer, add 2 to the result and go to the corresponding page. Wait, what?
Okay.
What is it asking? Hold on.
There's an equivalence in the connected symbols. There's an icon at the top of each pillar. In front of these, another 3 are mirrored. 2 are upside down, and another 2 look like a mathematical extrapolation of the first. Okay, so how many symbols are there in total? So the symbol itself, I'm just going to assume the symbol itself doesn't change when it is mirrored or upside down. That's the same symbol. It's just different. Like a P is a B, or a Q, or a D. Depends on the angle you're looking at it from, buddy. So I'm going to say we have a total of each pillar. How many pillars are there in the first place? There are 4 pillars that look like cracked. So we have 4... 3 mirrored don't count, 2 are upside don't count, another 2 look like mathematical extrapolations of the first. My guess is 8. That's a guess.
So 8 plus 2 is 10, which is the page we came from. I'm going to tell you that that's not going to be it.
Oh, sorry. No. It would be 6 plus 2 to get to 8. Mathematical extrapolations of the first. Those could be the same as other symbols that exist there, though.
My question is it... My question is, for some reason, I feel like it's just 4, but I don't know why. There's equivalence in the connected...
So 4 plus 2 to 6?
That's my vibe. I don't know why. It's just like, there's equivalence in the connected symbols. There's an icon on top of each pillar. They're mirrored. There's 2 that are upside down. And the other 2 look like a mathematical extrapolation of the first. Icon at the top of every pillar. I don't know.
4? Why not?
Okay. Well, I mean, is it... I mean, it seems right. I don't know why, though. Rightly so. Although some symbols appear upside down and others are extrapolations, no one here has inquired not about the type of symbol, but their number. And if there are 4 stone pillars, that means there's 4 symbols. Good job. You decipher...
I guess it's the same reasoning I had, except for the fact that the extrapolations themselves don't count as new symbols.
It's just a trick question, yeah. You decipher a mathematical key with which to interpret the meaning of these hieroglyphs. You conclude that it's a solar calendar, with nothing to do with our sun, but a faraway star in the Puppies constellation. Is what I'm going to call that one. The Puppies constellation that is only visible at certain moments in the year. Word has it, it's one of the hottest stars in the universe, a small white dwarf, only 3 times the size of Earth. Seemingly, the obelisks count down the unfathomable time left for it to cool down and become a black dwarf. What horrible astronomical meaning will that occurrence have when it takes place in, let me see, 5 times 4 plus the cosine of the square root of pi.
You do the math mentally.
Thank you. That Reps is just telling you guys to do the math. 1 trillion years, give or take a century. The hieroglyphs don't say so, but it's bound to be related to the awakening of something that now lies asleep among the clouds of space dust. Somewhere where there's only coldness and darkness. Return to the map. Okay, so this is one of the duds.
Maybe this information helps us elsewhere?
Maybe.
Although, faraway star, it's only visible at certain times of the year. Count down to an unfathomable time left for it to cool down and become a black star. Because the other one was about the ritual that we would have been involved in the death path was to move the planet, if I recall correctly. So maybe it's slightly related to this in some way. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how it's integrated.
I don't know either.
Well, that's 10.
Why
don't we head to the final remaining one on this side of the map, 64.
Nintendo 64. You wahoo, and you backwards long jump through the... No, okay. You walk up to a hole in the ground that's demarcated by 8 segmented limestone walls. Each of them has a burr of stone sticking out like a wave frozen in time, and is crowned by studs that resemble teeth. Looks like a disturbing, fang-covered mouth carved on the ground. You stand near the edge and peek inside, and it's a tunnel whose other extreme is lost in the depths of the earth, always shunning the sunshine. For never does the sun stand in such a sun. Sally sells she shells by the seashore, shunning the sunshine. Okay, sorry. For never does the sun stand in such... For never does the sun stand in such vertical alignment with this pit so as to illuminate its bottom. They were seeking the eternal night, total darkness for whatever dwells down there. A night dial instead of a sundial? Does darkness even set the time? Some far-fetched lapse of time? The metallic music you heard before comes at least partly from down here. Down there, deep down, there's something that produces the music when the wind sweeps past these galleries. You can't fathom what sort of artifact or alien musical instrument could make such a sound, though we could, though. Because we have seen it.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything like that, certainly.
Suddenly you notice something. Whenever the music plays, the wind sweeps sand down the tunnel and retrieves it later. You could jump inside with confidence without risking your legs if you could just wait until the pit is exactly half full of sand. Considering that in one cycle it takes 17 hours for the wind to fill the tunnel with sand and another 17 to empty it, and that each hour it fills with twice the volume of sand of what was there before, at what time would you exactly have to jump in when it's exactly half full? If you know the answer to the riddle, go to the page. Oh, bother. It's math day.
It's math day! Although, we learned from the previous one, it's not math day. It's trick question day.
Is it 17?
Considering that one cycle takes 17 hours for the wind to fill the tunnel with sand and another 17 to empty it, and that each hour it fills with twice the volume of sand that was there before. So twice the volume of sand that was there before. So that means at the 16th hour, it has half.
I'll trust you.
So 16, I believe, is the page it will take us to.
Raps. Obviously, if by the 17th hour it's full to the brim, and each hour is filled twice as much as the previous hour, the answer is that it'll be half full an hour before the time is up.
No!
So if you wait until that time of the day, crossing your fingers that you're not wrong, and you jump into the darkness at the bottom of the well, you will fall and fall down an endless, pliable darkness until your feet meet the bottom. You roll in the midst of a sand explosion, but you've been lucky. You have not broken anything. It's cold down here. Let's go. A glacial coldness that makes your bones creak. Such an abysmal change in temperature that it seems as though the sun has not touched these parts in ages. You find holes in odd niches. Why not? We'll go with that today. That'll be the word. It'll be niche today. In the walls, a weak musical note echoing in these cubicles, and the main passageway is filled with sand. It must be the secondary tunnels that keep the peel going when it's drowned in the main one. A swirl in the sand becomes the old god's fingers playing a tune in that stone organ. Must be a millennium-old tune, immune to the touch of time. The other niches, okay, it's bothering me now, chant along with vibrations in an odd psycho-musical organ. This is a sound for demented ears. Yelp review. Played in an auditorium. This is a sound for demented ears played in an auditorium from the beginning of time. Examining these niches, I'm swapping back. I'm going traitor. I'm a turncoat. You find a number of altars that appear to be designed for long-forgotten rituals of inexplicable origin. You're not sure to which primitive cult they belong. In one of them, you find something incredible. Turn to page 17. You find that in one of the niches is filled with what seems to be some sort of metallic machinery. Machines! Tubes, gears, iron arms that don't seem to follow the logic of steam technology or anything known to man. After you spent a considerable amount of time studying them and before the sand buries them completely, you find a switch on a corner shaped like a disc, full of etchings where some sort of disc-shaped key could fit. Is this what it takes to get this extraordinary mechanism going? If somewhere along this adventure you've been given a medallion that represents a reptilian creature... Go to page 27. We have... Right?
We absolutely have. That is the one that was given to us by Al-Riyad. Al-Fayed.
Al-Fayed. The medallion that Al-Fayed gave you in his tent pops into your mind, and you see that it has the exact diameter to fit there. The imprints on the machine seem to be the exact mirror replica of the ones on the medallion. Could it really be some sort of key? With a racing heart, you insert it and press. Nothing happens. You turn it clockwise. Nothing happens. But you turn it counterclockwise. Nothing happens. No. And the machine set in motion. There are some clicking noises, and from the heart of the gearbox, some electric arcs. There's a spinning sound, and suddenly an explosion of light drowns you. The energy courses through your body, drenching your skin, dripping into your muscles, boiling your blood, modifying your bones as if they were clay. You feel trapped in a vortex of electric light and kinetic movement. You spin and spin uncontrollably inside a whirlpool of light, a pit whose walls are made out of arcane supernatural energy. And you scream, because the terror is too intense even for your scientific mind. You get shot with a gun, and it hurts so bad even though you're so freaking smart. You stop spinning. Everything is changed. And not just your surroundings, but you too. Turn to page 29. Whoa!
Take a second in the middle page.
Yeah, why don't you hit us with the description and read the little thingy.
Okay. The best that I can describe this is that a Tesla sphere sat at this man's feet has suddenly started to go supernova and is disintegrating him a la Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan being torn apart particle by particle in the nuclear accelerator. He looks simultaneously in agony and as though the moment of realization has just come upon his face that he is going to be changed forever, if not torn asunder.
I'd say that's about right. Or like Gus
Suddenly,
Fring in that
a
episode of
burst-
Breaking Bad.
100%. Yeah, it's affecting him the exact same way. Suddenly, a burst of energy comes from the odd artifact. That's the same thing that was Gus Fring's last thought.
Reality returns in a distorted way, adding color upon color as if a ray of sun penetrated a well of shadows dark as a witch's cauldron. The colors aren't right. The proportions slip down your retinas as if they had the shape of a spindle. Even gravity is not right. Or is it your center of balance that's been displaced? Where you're not in the well anymore. Your surroundings have changed. You find yourself in a very different place. A sort of temple seen from the inside where the walls are made of batholiths of carved stone. It's night. Not day, but night. Not day. But the moon casts an odd light. From that same moon, visible through the skylight, it appears that strands are hanging down all around you. There are things. Beings of an extraneous and chaotic morphology, masses of lizard-like flesh shielded behind armors of scales bigger and more massive than any human. Staring at you, shouting at you, they prod you, but they won't attack. But why? You realize the horrible truth when you examine yourself. There are only 3 fingers on each of your hands, including an opposable thumb. Well, that's nice at least. And your skin is turned to scales. Your own body is as massive as these 2-legged reptiles that surround you, and your eyes split symmetrically on either side of the same long snout scalloped with teeth. You become one of these things. One of these 2-legged dragons. And you hold a knife with your right hand, or should I say right claw. Turn to page 30.
What sort of nightmare is this?
You wonder as the other beings lead you, kindly but insistently, to the outside of the temple. Only in a terrible drug-induced state of derangement and delirium could a soul descend to hell like yours just did. Yelp review. Outside the temple, you see an altar on which a human has been tied. It's a ritual sacrifice, and you have the sacred knife in your reptilian hand. Your sanity finally snaps when you look out of the horizon surrounding the pyramid on whose cusp you are standing. Not a barren desert, but a prehistoric forest that is dense and phantasmagorical and full of unnameable creatures. And a forest that has covered this part of the world long before an unspeakable cataclysm led to a change in the climate in the dark times. In the distance, far away, you can make out a shore. The shore of the sea that led to the center of the Arabia before the last Stone Age. The human, with a primitive cranium structure like a Cro-Magnon, stares at you with wild, fear-shot eyes. He begs for his life in a language that has not been heard on Earth for millions of years. Thousands of other prehistoric beings kneel by the base of the ziggurat, worshipping their gods, while the draconian creatures keep them at bay with objects of exotic technology. Slowly, acting the part of your high priest, you raise your sacrificial dagger, and what will you do? Sacrifice this dude on page 66, or say no and free him on 44.
I wonder if we're not actually, we've not actually been changed and put in a new scenario, but rather we're living someone's memory through the artifact. In which case, maybe we sacrifice him because that's probably what they did.
I see what you're saying. I mean, just from a meta sense here, I can't help but ask, how'd this get us key? And
yeah.
So I'm like, So
when we snap out of it, if we complete it correctly.
Yeah, so I'm down to try on 66 to see if it's we were sacrificed. Your body is filled with an odd and irresistible force. You no longer feel yourself. You're certainly not the George Aberdeen who left the United States to explore the most remote confines of the world.
And look how far you've come.
Now you're another creature, another being, a tide of ideas, concepts, feelings that weaken your brain, as if radiating from some transmitter set right at the beginning of the Big Bang. With the birth of the universe, a horrible titanic eye opens there, eclipsing half the sky with its radiance, and it looks right at you. You raise your knife, possessed by willpower that is not your own, enslaved to the gods with the names no human throat could pronounce. The crowded square of the archaic city next to the ziggurat bursts into a deafening, fanatic screaming, chanting over and over again the names of the demented deities. The knife plunges swiftly with one blow. Brutal, yet concise. It's over for the victim. But your living hell has just begun. The end. Oh, man.
Okay, fair enough. We're not living in memory. 44. Let him live.
We killed someone.
Okay. Let's not sacrifice him.
Yep.
No!
You scream with your new reptilian throat. The other dragon men.
That's the only name you can think of, although they might resemble hyenas crossed with giant Komodo dragons.
Stare at you bewildered. Bewilderment born out of amazement that degrades little by little into rage as they witness an act of heresy. How their high priest uses his sacrificial knife, not to end the human's life, but to cut his ropes and run alongside him down the pyramid. You don't make it very far, because the terrifying blue rays of the alien machines catch you mid-run and vaporize you and the prisoner. Okay, goosebumps? But at least you die with some peace of mind. The horrible gods who monsters pray to won't have their snack today. The end.
We solved a riddle and had an inventory item in order to die on both paths.
That's nuts.
We got so hard. Well, I mean, I hope the final two keys are in 22 and 61, because if they aren't, we don't have them.
It's definitely true. We are back. A day later. 2 keys short. Hey, look at that. Super clean. We have 2 locations left. 22 and 61. What is 22? It just looks like the most building I've ever builded. Very large.
Yeah. It seems like a centralized structure with many different moats and walls around it. I described it previously as something like a mausoleum, but that's literally just because I'm basically going pyramid-ish. It's the largest structure by far on this map.
Yeah, probably the place we should have looked.
Almost certainly.
In a way, it's giving me that vibe. But hey, all right, let's give it a look over 22. If it doesn't have a key, we scream. You venture further into the brooding ruins, hidden under the sand like an ogre under a coverlet. That's so good.
You know, the common... Everyone can picture an ogre under a coverlet, of course.
Oh, yeah. And you make it to one of the buildings whose outline stands out. Looks like a dilapidated temple. It's very old, and the decorations on the walls resemble the friezes from Lower Egypt. But in this case, they are arranged following a hexagonal pattern as though the walls were covered in snake scales. The very entrance to the building reminds you of a giant snake's mouth, whose fangs the architect turned into columns, and in the deep sockets of his eyes lie shiny lapis lazuli stones, Minecraft style. Lapis lazuli isn't real, it's only Minecraft, and nobody can convince me otherwise.
As soon as I saw it in Steven Universe, I was like, sick Minecraft reference.
Yeah, good Minecraft reference, yeah.
Yeah. One time I was mining, and I found a Minecraft reference in the ground.
Who put this here? I mean, wow, it's commitment. The very entrance to the building reminds you, I already read that. The unnatural mechanical sound of the strangely familiar music emerges from this place, swept by the strong gale that manifests from the serpent's mouth. The immense snake's throat must be connected either to the large galleries or to exits to distant places of the desert. Uh-oh. You pluck up the courage to light your burner and step into the darkness. Turn to page 23. You're surrounded by a gloom so heavy that even the light of your burner struggles to find its way. But one thing is clear. This was once a great city, very powerful, such as Ur or Babylon were in their time. And you wonder about the origins of such greatness. The temple's lower on the inside. The magnificence of its walls becomes a labyrinth of low ceilings and claustrophobic chambers that make no sense at all. You see many complex scratches on the wall that could be read as hieroglyphs. They show images of a very industrious city of great technological and social prowess. But what really gets your attention, apart from the fact that these coarse figures resemble reptiles rather than humans, yeah, okay, still, we get it. This is not a human city, we get it, is that no picture represents death. It's one of those things where you have like a branching path story, but you really need to make sure like every path has the exposition set up. So you're like, if you go for a completionist route, you're like, yeah, I get it. They
could have gotten here without going through the giant snake mouths.
Yeah. It's a curious omission since the primitive cities were more than obsessed with the concept of rites of passage to the other life. These beings, however, do not worship nor represent death in their friezes. It's as if, for them, extinction, both at a personal and collective level, were an extravagant idea, and they somehow aspired to find eternal life. Turn to 24.
There's also speculation we found on the other page about this, of it seems like maybe they don't experience death.
Yeah, me either. Well, not yet, at least.
Hopefully not for a very long time. We're back in riddles.
Yeah. You walk into a collapsed wall. Oof. That won't let you through. It's a wall.
Oh.
However,
yeah. Otherwise, it's a doorway or a hallway.
Just wow.
A wall that lets you through is air.
Yeah. It's a wall of air. I mean, hey, it wasn't clear. It could have been a collapsed wall of air. However, in an adjacent corridor, you find a game of levers and symbols that might well be numbers. Looks like a mathematical progression etched on stone, incomplete. It's the following. I mean, do we read all the numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, squiggle equals 0. 90812, squiggle equals 4, 45501, squiggle equal 1, 88303, squiggle equal 5, 09086, squiggle equal question mark. Oh no, that was my social security number. The whole thing. Squiggle equals and all.
It's irresponsible they printed it in this book.
I know. I have the really unique, very long squiggle equal including social security number. I've been had. What number will follow and replace the question mark, and what will happen when you complete the series? Okay. If you pull the lever for 1, for 3, for 6, or for 9, go to various pages.
Numbers.
God, I don't know. You got anything yet?
It's not mathematical.
Yeah.
So it has to be symbology.
Yeah.
I've been trying to like flip the numbers backwards and things like that. And I'm getting nothing. Upside down and backwards, nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like just going on like vibes. Where like the ones with more even numbers feels like it produces an even number result. I don't know. That's all I have. And yet
the first total to 15 and have 0, and then the third total to 15 and have 1 as their result. So
yeah, so it's like I don't think it's necessarily about total. Like it could be about, I don't know why my mind keeps going to like the difference of something, but like I don't think that really checks out here. Because like I see the 8s. There's like a lot of 8s, a lot of 3s, and I see a 5, and I'm like, surely there's a minus, something about subtracting something here to get 5.
You know what? Each of these is going to have a value of some kind.
Oh, you're almost definitely right.
1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All
adds
of those
up to 0, yeah.
Add up to 0. 9, 0, 8, 1, 2. All of those add up to 4. But we know 1 and 2 can't be anything. So 9, 0, and 8 add up to 4. 4, 5, 5, 0, 1 adds up to 1. But we know that 4, 5, and 1 can't be anything. So 0 is 1. Okay, yeah, it's this.
Okay.
0 is 1, 8, 8, 303. So we know the O in that is 1. We know the 3s can't be anything. So we know the 8s have to be 2. So if 8 is 2 and 0 is 1, then 9 has to also be 1 because of 90812 being 4.
Issue here is we don't have any data to glean on 6. So maybe this can't be it because 6 doesn't appear anywhere prior. Otherwise, that adds up to 6, which is on there. Because if 9 would be 2, because 9 would have to be 2. No, because 0's...
9 would be 1.
Yeah, 9 would have to be 1.
So that would be 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2. So 5 plus something?
Yeah. Plus a guess.
Well,
it's just an upside down 9. It's a 1, and it's 6.
Maybe
it's just 9.
It's
upside
definitely
down.
not
6.
It's not 1 or 3 by this, but we have no reason to know whether it's 6 or 9.
That's true.
Which, yeah, I do feel like it makes it less likely that this is the actual. But it seems so smooth, and it fits with the other ones, though.
Good until it wasn't. It was so good until 6. It was like perfect. It was perfect. Yeah. What number will you follow and replace the question mark? Oh my god.
I mean,
oh my
what?
God. I've cracked the code.
Ooh. What is it?
I figured it out, and I hate it. I would like you to count the number of circles in the numbers.
Oh.
There are 0 circles in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 4 circles in 908, which has 2 circles, 1, 2, 1 circle in 4, 5, 5, 0, 1. I've got to be honest, I have no idea how that just came to me, but That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Never mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Never mind. I thought I counted 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, thank God. I was going to lose my mind if that wasn't right. Because it was fit too perfectly. If the 6 swindled us again, I'm pretty confident in that.
That seems... It fits with all of the previous logic. Also, actually, 8 equals 2. Yeah, because there's 2 circles in 8. 9 equals 1, because there's 1 circle in 9.
Yeah. So we almost stumbled into the right answer. So the crazy thing is with the dumb, like, almost right answer, if we would have just treated the 6 like an upside down 9 as a 1 with 1 circle, it would have been right. That's so funny. We almost reverse gigabrained it. Well, okay, we also don't know if we're right yet, so let's go down to 71.
I clicked the button.
Okay.
I'm certainty now.
You think that you've guessed right when you pull the lever. Think. A secret lateral passage opens up to your left, leading you to the outermost core of the building. You find the low ceilings claustrophobic, and they leave you distressed. You got it right. Of course, the result was the number of circles or zeros in each one. I mean, I would have just checked the page if I knew that they were just going to tell us what the... There are 6 circles in 09086. If you count the 2, there are in the... Yeah, the answer is 6. We get it. Yes. You walk with extreme care in the dark. The moon is visible through a skylight. It seems to be shaking, as if reflected in a pond of quivering waters. For some unknown reason, you find the sight comforting, even though you feel more scared than words could tell, although not enough to quash your thirst for wonders. This new George Aberdeen that ventures into the deepest chamber of the building is no longer your old shy self, but a feisty explorer, like the ones who fill the gaps in all the empty maps of Africa. And he heads for the deepest chamber of the temple, and what will he find? Turn with courage to page 72. The chamber it leads to is a wide and circular, and there don't seem to be any windows. Not even in past times, when the desert hadn't buried yet, did it have any ventilation. Vestiges of old paintings cover the wall, curious wavy lines whose paint is peeled off, and in the center, the great chamber on a pedestal, and on it, a key. At least it looks like a key. Hold on, we don't know. Although the shape of the bow, I don't know. On this, in a key...
I'm unfamiliar.
In
this usage?
In context of a key, the shape of the bow, perhaps, suggests the bow. I keep on feeling like both one sounds right. In the context of a key, I don't know which way you'd go. Suggests it wasn't made for a 5-fingered hand. You walk to it with its golden shimmer.
For it seems to be carved out of gold.
Glittering in your eyes, a feeling of cruel greed numbs your senses. Is this how Sir Alan Quatermain felt when he saw Solomon's treasures in the depths of Africa for the first time? The number 37 is etched on one side of the key. What could this mean? We do know the answers, but... All right, so 37. What was the...
We add that to our other key, which is 7, giving us a total of 44, but we need one more key to add.
Oh, let's just brute force it. Let's just... Same
yeah, let's test every number.
Yeah, now it's easier. We have to... It's just become a lot easier. All right, 61. A presence seems to stalk you from the ghostly rocks of the city. You try to ignore it as you walk to a double row of pillars that delineate a straight path. A road that wagons and people would have traversed in the old days. It would have been a sign of the prosperity of this place, now abandoned to who knows what horrible cataclysm. From afar, you discern a shape on top of each of the stone pillars, which rise at least 50 feet above the ground. You assume they might be the statues of old governors, like the ones crowning in the peristyles of the Roman Empire. Learn a lot of words in this book. Like the ones crowning the peristyles of the Roman Empire. But as you get closer, you can make out more details, and what you see is deeply disturbing. They are statues, but they don't look like human beings, Raps. Rather,
what do they look like?
They look like a cross between different animals, 2-legged and 4-legged draconian reptiles mixed with satyrs, reminiscent of hyenas with broad foreheads, all of them in solemn poses, as if saluting days of glory now long gone, Raps.
Oh.
Are these gods, perhaps, Raps? Antediluvian myths turned into stone, Raps? Suddenly, you hear a voice. A human voice. A man's. And it scares you almost to death. Turn to page 63.
You won't open it! You won't open it!
Is that a dare? Shouts the voice, scaring you almost to death. You turn around to see a man come out from behind a column. He's old and his clothes are ragged. An unkempt and dirty beard hangs down on his chin. The man runs to you, grabs you by your sleeve with pleading fingers, his vacant stare, trembling hands, unable to stay still for even a second. Make you think this poor man must be insane.
The bronze door must remain closed, whatever happens,
He shouts in a foreign accent.
I've looked at the Pond of Revelations and have seen what could happen if they cross the door to this world. You mustn't open it! Who are you?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that would be maybe something I would say in that situation, but it is a very funny retort to all of that. And what's your name?
It seems so unrelated.
It's nice weather we're having.
The world is going to end! And how do you spell that? Is that with a C?
Do you know any good places around here for scones? I mean, whoa. You ask him, trying to calm him down. You have the unpleasant feeling that you know this man and that you've seen him before in some faraway place.
What are you talking about, sir? What door? And who are you?
The old man's teeth chatter, and an agonizing cramp seems to make all of his muscles tense.
The one that connects to the other city! The one up above. It must never be opened! Bury the keys! Bury them!
Turn to page 31. Judging by the remains of his clothes, it's clear that this is a survivor of a previous expedition. And then it hits you. His skewed chin, curious eyes, scars of a long ago smallpox all over the face finally fall into place. It's your colleague from the Research Society, the Miskatonic, Sir Richard Burton. You remember that a year ago he left for the desert of Arabia.
Although, supposedly, somewhere quite distant from here.
In an expedition financed by the Victor Heisenberg Gentlemen's Society. Boy, is it ever. His purpose is to find clues of the existence of pre-Homo sapiens civilization in the deep desert.
Richard!
You shout, grabbing him by the shoulders.
Ow! What? What are you doing here? What happened to the expedition? We saw it. We saw them.
He mumbles.
Dear God, they're horrible. And what a level of perfection they've reached in their civilization. They built this city from the ground and then lost it when the air on the surface became unbreathable. So full of that damned oxygen. They had to retreat to their underground caves where they're safe, where they could breathe their own air. They? Who do you mean? Those who built these statues for their gods? They are no gods, you damn fool! The statues are a representation of themselves!
And are they human? He shouts to you.
No, they're vaguely analogous to the combination of anywhere between 2 and 4 animals!
Oh my God. A revelation
Most terrifying
to me.
amount.
The old man breaks into a run surprisingly nimble, and you struggle to keep up. You see how he slips through a fissure in the base of one of the columns that creates a cave.
Here is where I found it. The biggest discovery of all. What?
You ask him.
What is it that you found, Richard? The pond! With meteorite water released by old asteroids. Yes, the water connects your mind to predict other times and places. And also, key, the accursed key, forged out of a meteorite mineral.
Once again, a stretch of dialogue that in any other book or any other universe, this person is to be disregarded. But in this book, is the smartest man alive.
Legitimately, it does feel like in so many cosmic horror settings, you are looking for the most deranged person you can understand.
Pretty much. As long as they're still speaking a language
the Queen's
does not have as many as long as you can
Cthulhu for tongues.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty big selling point as well. He shows you a worn out bag, produces a key from inside. It's the oddest that you've ever encountered. It is a shape that does not seem to fit the human hand. It's made of a material you fail to identify, but it shines lightly in the dark, and the number 62 is etched on one of its sides. What could that mean? The old man hands it to you, not with ease, but as if sharing something quite dangerous.
Hide it! Hide it! Beg of you!
He moans.
My strength is all but gone. What happened, Richard?
You ask, exasperated.
What happened to your colleagues? Did the bandits of the desert ambush you?
The old man laughs. It's the tragic laughter of a demented mind, and he shakes his head.
No, not Bandits? Not even humans! No, it was them. I saw them coming in the water, but my colleagues wouldn't hear my words. They took me for a fool! Can you believe it?
You shake your head, resigned. You keep the key in your bag and turn to page 33. Okay, so 62.
Yes, they took me for a fool. But I saw it all in the water. I saw the images and I tried to warn them. In the end, they disappeared. Buried in the sand, swallowed by the music from below. And then there was only me. Only good old Burton.
A soft laugh escapes between the gaps in his teeth.
Only me.
What damn pond are you talking about, man?
He points at something down the end of the cave. Looks like a baptismal font made of stone. A font whose antiquity numbs your senses. It's a piece of art that dates long before the myths of Western man. It's full of lapis lazuli. Colored liquid with extraordinary reflections rippling off of it, as if it were playing with the source of light.
The water of dreams.
The old man murmurs with terror. Will you look at it, trying to find out what might have driven Burton insane, or will you be more sensible? Well, finger on the scale a little bit there.
Yeah, a little.
You want to do the right thing? Or
Are you a
like
dummy?
Stupid? Do you want to be like stupid or something, man?
Should we be clever? I don't think we need to know what the water has to tell us. I think it did bad by our friend Richard Burton here.
I do think that is true. So let's say.
But also, we could die very quickly on that page, maybe.
It's true,
Check it
but
out.
It also might be the kind of thing where, like, and they played with it in a different book, where it was like, by knowing something, we are impacted in the future. Like, it might not kill us, but like, if you know what's going on, rip. Like 10 pages down the line, and then we have to, like, I don't know. I'm fine with either, though. I really don't. I don't care if we get toasted, but I also do feel like
maybe we should get toasted.
All right, let's look at the water and immediately fry our noggin. Somewhat reluctantly, you inch towards the water, the liquid reflecting light in 1,000 asymmetrical prisms. Leaning over the basin and looking inside, something incredible happens. At first, it's just a change in color, as if the liquid knew someone was staring. Someone or something was staring, and was reacting to the contact of the observer, but then it starts to bubble, which is odd, since there's no heat. And then it bursts into images, violent waterfalls of unmoving pictures, so that you cannot really tell whether you're actually seeing them or if they're in your mind, when Burton begins to laugh behind you.
Another witness of the great revelation! Oh my God, another witness!
He cries, shooting his arms into the air.
Show him the truth, you magnanimous beings! Show him the truth, so that he is aware too, and ready him for the upcoming times!
His demented tirade goes on, but you're no longer listening. Your gaze is fixed on the images displayed on the water, and they are the most terrifying things you've ever seen. Because you see them, and in return, they see you too. You see the reptilian creatures clad in shapeless rags, building temples, making the city. When did this happen? 100? 200,000 years ago? 10 million, perhaps? 10 million and one, perhaps? Turn to page 99. You see them using some strange machinery to lift large rocks, place them on top of one another. Purely a theological society based on the compliance of rituals and cults for the nameless deities. It's the chronicle of a mighty seacoast metropolis that ruled the world before Africa came out of the waves. You see their wars, their triumphs, their tribulations, their defeats. You see them eventually retreating to the depths when air became unbreathable for them, digging and digging in the search of the world their prophets spoke of. They're down there, underground, still. When the vision dissolves, you see Burton's body by your side. He's dead. He left you alone again, but at least you've got the key. Once you buried him, go back to the city map.
I can't believe he left us alone.
Oh, rude. I guess to 58 we go with keys in hand to, I guess, not listen to him and open the door.
Yeah.
Because what else do we have?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I guess we don't have to go to 58 to do it. We know to just add the three numbers together, which, what does that give us?
Yes, indeed. So the three numbers together, 7, 37, and 62, give us 44 and 62 for a total of 106.
Yeehaw. You've managed to find the three keys. I don't know if this is the right page, Raps. No. You managed to find the three keys. Amazing.
You think you've managed to find the right?
Crawling in exhaustion, with joints burning in pain and fatigue, you near the large door and stick each key in its socket. Since they're very different in size, shape, and weight, it's not hard to find which one belongs where. When you're done, you turn them in the opposite direction from the movement of the sun. That's bound to have some mysterious meaning somewhere. Okay. The large bronze plate moans and trembles as if alive. The carvings on the door showing seas and continents whose names humans have forgotten break down into thin cascades of dust. You step back frightened when you see a thin slit of light has snapped the plate in two right down the middle. But it's not any ordinary light, and that's what scares you the most. It looks like luminescence that's been stolen from another sun. Light from other times, irradiated to in past geological eras that were yet to succumb to decay. The door trembles and opens at last after keeping a silent watch for thousands of years. The door opens before you. Turn to page 109 and discover what awaits you on the other side. The door opens ominously, but what's on the other side doesn't correspond to the reality of your world. It's not even the desert that one would reasonably expect to find. It's not even part of the Nameless city. What the door reveals is a nimbus of golden light, a path to some other place, a tunnel made of light that leads to undreamt places. And like the scientist you are, you surprise yourself by putting one foot in front of the other and inching your way to the large, shining rectangle until it swallows you. How do you convey a trip to infinity in words? Like that. A change of reality and paradigm. There might not be a language that adheres to such realities, but your eyes see it. Your brain absorbs the torrent of colors, odd geometries, and wild dimensions. And when it's all over, you're on the other side standing before a new landscape. A world that is alien to you. Suddenly, your presence catches the eye of the things that inhabit it. The door, needless to say, closed behind you. Now it's impossible to return to your world. Your only option is to go on. Turn to 111.
There's also a fun page in between the two.
Ooh. Why don't you hit me with the try to describe it and the thing on the bottom?
So it appears that a fracture of the world has broken away from itself and is now in orbit of Earth. Many different asteroids speck the landscape, but we can also see a chunk of the desert risen from the ground, specifically the chunk that had the statues to each of these half satyr, half hyena beasts. As a scientist, you wonder if you've gone too far this time.
An obviously lunar landscape welcomes you, not unlike the Earth's moon, with its craters and smooth mountains of fine white dust, and in the middle stands a city that mirrors what you knew in your time as the Nameless city, but splendid and majestic and in full bloom. You see it full of short, industrious beings busy with their chores who spread their wings and fly towards you when they spot you, as if asking themselves who the intruder might be. And the strangest thing is that the lack of air does not kill you. You're still alive, still breathing, as if the pressure of an invisible dome that covers the whole crater were able to maintain the basic conditions for life inside of it. The sky is teeming with asteroids. There's luminous cities, and some of them shining with a million pinpricks of light inhabited. You can't tell whether you're in an incredibly remote past or in a distant future, in which the moon is broken into pieces, formed a ring around the mother planet. A ring where these things, these beings, have finally succeeded in building their own ideal civilization. As a scientist, you might have gone too far. Even for the most extreme frontiers of science. The end.
Good ending?
I mean,
we went to space.
I don't know that there's a different ending.
Well, yeah, I think it's this and failures.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, as far as good ending, bad ending, I think this is the ending.
Yes, we should probably clarify for this season, the most complete ending. Definitely.
Yes.
This is definitely the most complete ending. Good ending? Ooh.
I think the important thing to ask with the ending page is like, this one doesn't have a question mark. That's usually I think about the best hint you can get in these books. It's like, is it noticeably obviously bad, and does it have a question mark? Like, I think those are kind of some key markers. Also, you know, neither here nor there, but it is literally the last page of the book. That feels pretty finite. I feel like this is their final ending that they really probably wanted us to take a look at.
Absolutely, because the ending of like a cosmic horror story is not the completion of a hero's journey and the completion of like some sort of dramatic story arc over which you've overcome. It is, you now understand things better.
You get it. You get it, you poor soul.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah, pretty much it. Yeah. Congratulations, you won. Enjoy your riches of never feeling normal ever again. Or being dead. That's it. But yeah, I think this is about as good of an end as we could expect here. I vibed with this one. It's a fun, different take. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a bit of a rookie. I'm an Eldritch Horror rookie. I didn't ever much relate, like warm desert climate to it. But I guess, hey, you can lose your mind anywhere, baby.
There's also, like we saw in the Arctic previously, as well as here in the desert, there seems to be a consistent fascination in cosmic horror stories with it's below the earth. Mm-hmm. It's so deep below the earth that it's also uninhabitable. It's in an uninhabitable area deep below the earth. So it seems to fit through that realm to my mind, but definitely not a extremely common setting for this. What's the word I'm looking for? Genre.
Yeah, I liked it though. I mess with it. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this specific combo. I don't know. It feels like it makes a lot of sense. And as a rookie, I may be blind to the fact that this is a common setting for it, or not. You know, perhaps, who knows?
And
regardless,
also like the character Abdul al-Hazred, who'd written like the profane verses before. I believe that is the same character that is referred to in Darkest Dungeon 2 by the occultist, whose like true name is Al-Hazred.
Oh, well, would you look at that? That makes sense. That makes sense. I think that
I will say some of these puzzles seemed very straightforward, and some of them seemed a bit strange.
Did they drive you mad, Raps?
They did indeed.
Oh, then maybe it was the point. 2
but
plus
now I know
2
more
equals...
because I've been driven mad.
How many circles are in 2 plus 2?
Yeah, which itself does feel a little discordant with the setting of like, oh, they're undescribably evil and unfathomably horrible. What's 1 plus 2 plus 4 if 3 isn't 7?
Yeah, I think the thing is like you gotta like take a step out of it a bit and be like, these are just like, they wanted to clearly invoke. They just wanted to invoke that you had to like actually try and puzzle something out, I think. And like, it's hard to be like, here's something that doesn't make sense and you can't understand it, solve like that you would not be able to solve, and now solve it would not be a satisfying situation. So I think the closest you can do is like a relatively hard to grok kind of quasi straightforward, but like uncannily obtuse. This sort of like I think it is
exactly the realm in which trick questions live, because they are like kind of straightforward but uncannily obtuse.
Yeah, which I'd say is what it is. Like, I wouldn't even classify them as trick questions, but they're like trick questions neighbors, and that feels even more fitting almost. So like, I think it works, but like, yeah, I also I get it, and I agree. I think it's kind of like if you can't get it to vibe and mesh with the story you're telling and the universe you're telling, the question is like, should you include it at all? I think that they were fine and right to do it, but like, I can also understand the argument that like, yeah, if you can't get the puzzles to quite fit the tone, then maybe don't. But I liked them.
I will say mechanically, like compared to the last time we were given a map and different areas to go into, like we can see the difference in the length effectively, like immediately. These were terminating points for each of those. Like there was like 2 pages of explanation and then a riddle at the end, rather than like multiple different like large scenes that themselves had forks. So in that way, I really appreciate the difference in the format.
Yeah. It's and even that, like, you could say you could be for or against. Like, I could just as easily see someone say, all right, as soon as you make it to the city, you more or less have to go to every page. You just have to not go to a couple, because they waste your time, but they're not going to kill you either. So it's like, as soon as you get to the city, you're going to be marking off all of those places. And I think some people would maybe be like, oh, well, it's a choose your own adventure, you know. But so my favorite is like when you have this, like, the situation of this, but you wrap it in a little bit where you have the things that did pop up from time to time, which were, do you have this thing, then this will happen, where like the final end goal of get 3 keys is basically does equate to, as soon as you get to the map area, you have been to all places. Where my preferred situation would be, there are a couple more places, and a couple more keys. But you only need 3. Like, I feel like that's kind of my preferred interpretation of this, but I'll put my hands up. That is more book, and I'm not the one writing it, so woe is me for saying, I want more book in my book. But I like when there are more, it feels like there's more choice and it feels more variance, where it feels like it matters which places you go to first, or second, or whatever. I think that there's something kind of fun in that. But there's also sometimes something kind of frustrating in it. It's a little bit of both. Like, you got to have a little bit of A, a little bit of B. It depends what kind of game book reader you are and what kind of time you have, and like how much you're taking seriously the if you die, you give up kind of vibe. I think that it all depends. But that is to say, I enjoyed this one. You say, sorry, I didn't mean to.
There should be a burn after reading version of a turn to page, kind of like if you reach an end and it's not the good ending, the book immolates in your hands.
Yeah. A turn to page bonus episode, like that's just a hardcore one where it's like we read through something and it, like on first death, the podcast is over. Screw you, you're done. Like
a 2-minute season of turn to page.
Yeah, like but hey, you want to say the city may be nameless, but the supporter for this episode is not. You want to help us out with that?
They certainly aren't. In fact, they're actually named something scary. It's something scary.
What is it?
Thank you, executive producer of the episode. Something scary, much appreciated. Supporting over on patreon.com/turn-to-page-cast. Out above the hardcover tier, the people for the executive producer slot. But, of course, we appreciate each and every person who supports either over on Patreon or through other ways, such as Rito. Could you tell us about them?
I sure could, but I also want to... The name, Something Scary, first of all, thank you, does actually ring a bell to me about something I wanted to mention. This was by far the least unsettling and scary. I will put that out there. All 3 of the other ones did give me the heebie-jeebies a bit more, were like a little bit more skin crawly than this one, which is, again, a mileage may vary on whether or not that's something like it. This was very world buildy, very unknowy, very like kind of, it was more cosmic horror. It was more cosmic.
Yeah. There was no body horror with the cosmic horror, which often is paired in with it and is often the stomach churning part.
This is a kind of horror that is like a little bit more subdued, and also a little bit more tied to like visuals. I feel like if you were to, this is like the kind of one where if you saw a picture and you're like, that's liminal as hell, dude. Like. This is more like one of those. All right, but that was just my segue, a thing to mention that this was absolutely the least unsettling and scary, I guess. But thank you, Something Scary, for the support. And now I will say how to help support the series. YouTube.com/turn-to-pagecast is the #1 probably way to like help for free right now. If you go over there and you subscribe, likes, comments, all this stuff is helpful as well. But as soon as we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can monetize that channel, which is going to be a very helpful, like, passive way to keep the series afloat, as well as the wonderful support on Patreon, which is very directly and very immediately helping us, like, buy these books, and get the art for the series, everything like that. Another way is to comment, leave reviews on whatever podcast streaming site you listen to it on. And the big one, God, they're all big ones. God, everything is so helpful. Everything is just so helpful. Dang. The other really helpful thing is to just tell someone that you think would like it a season to watch, or start from the beginning on the, the good old Goosebumps or something like that. But if you think there's something that really aligns with their specific interests, sending them that specific season, because we have a pretty diverse set of genres now, and odds are somebody who'd be interested in one of them.
Do they like fantasy? Do they like gothic horror? Do they like detectives? Do they like horror?
Yeah.
We got it all, baby.
We're all over the place. You like Christmas?
Yeah.
But hey, there's that. And one final call to action is, just want to do some due diligence as a big thank you to Choose Cthulhu for, being okay with us showing these books. There's a Kickstarter going on right now for the Choose Cthulhu books. What is it? It's 7, 8, 9, and 10. There's a link in the show notes on whatever podcast streaming site, or there is a link in the description of the YouTube video. If you want to go and support that, there's, you can get the digital PDFs, there's some physical books, and there's even like some rewards for some Cthulhu dice and stuff like that. So go check that out. I've already kickstarted it. We'll be covering that when whenever it's out. We'll do like a quick detour back to this series, and I'm looking forward to that. But alas, that is that, and that's going to do it for today. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Adios.